There we go. All right. Welcome to November's partners meeting. We'll start with our land acknowledgement here this morning. In the spirit of our journey to promote reconciliation, we would like to honor the truth of the shared history and acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. Our team is a provincial team, and so from where I sit just south of Calgary this morning, represents the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, also home to Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. So if you would like to share your location in the chat box, we welcome you to do that. And I'll just now walk us through a little bit of housekeeping. So we don't have Kate with us today as tech support, but please, if you're running into any tech challenges, reach out to Helen, probably Helen or I. Shauna's sharing her screen. Maybe that, I don't know, Helen, Shauna, or I will get you through that. So you have free use of your mute and camera options, and we ask that you just keep yourself on mute during the presentation. We'll have time for some questions afterwards. And you're welcome to use the buttons such as thumbs up or the clap icon, which are at the bottom, if you would like to react to some of the information that's being shared. And please, we encourage you to use the chat box to share your thoughts, ideas, or questions. We will have time afterwards to go through the questions, but we'll address those as they come through. The presentation is also going to be recorded and shared on Core Alberta. So we are recording the session, which you will have a prompt that comes up there. And the recording will be shared along with the slide deck. All right, next slide, please. Okay. The agenda, there we go. All right, so if you haven't had the chance, just introduce yourself in the chat box, and we're going to turn it over to the community partners in action, and Ellen will share her screen. We'll have a little bit of a update and save the date around the Health Canada grant work, and if there's time, we can share our well-being guide that's been developed through this Health Canada grant work, and also share some resources and opportunities at the end. So looking forward to the Innisfail presentation, and Ellen, over to you. Looks good.
Wendy, you're up.
Great. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Evans. I'm the geriatric assessment nurse for the Wolf Creek PCN in Innisfail. And thank you for the opportunity to share our story. I'd like to thank the provincial team for giving this opportunity. But I would also like to thank my fellow CPIA members for their commitment to a collaborative, coordinated, community-based senior serving sector that is integrated and can empower, support seniors to age how they choose, ultimately improving health and social outcomes. You may notice our mantra on the slide there: the weirder the mix, the better the fix. It certainly has worked for us. Next slide, Ellen. It would be remiss of me not to thank the provincial team, 𝘮𝘰, or now known as CPCLW, doesn't roll quite off the tongue like 𝘮𝘮 did, for their unwavering support guidance over the last 5 years. Their primary healthcare approach aligns with the principles outlined in the World Health Organization's approach of well-being centered on the needs and preferences of individuals, families, and communities. The CPI's goal is to integrate community-based health and social services organized around the needs of people living with dementia and their care partner, and to bridge the health and social system gap. Thank you for providing us with the tools such as the well-being guiding principles and the well-being framework that we use for our work. Your presentations and education opportunities have guided the CPIA. Without your support, we would not be sharing our journey today or our successes. The infographic on the slide highlights our community and provincial partners, programs, and services. Next slide, Ellen. So our journey started September 2017. The medical home was already participating in the 𝘮𝘮𝘭𝘵 initiative, advancing dementia diagnosis and management. The physicians were looking at improving the care provided for all adults within the community of Innisfail. From that initiative, we started looking at a healthy aging program. This included frailty screening to raise the profile of frailty within the medical home. The purpose of screening was to refocus care as person-centered. Frailty screening ensures the right pathways are identified and tailored to the needs in the context of the degree of frailty, but also to identify the less frail, the vulnerable, who may benefit from a more preventative approach. While we were developing this framework, we quickly realized that we had very little community programs to support these individuals. We can assess, diagnose, but then what? That's when we put a proposal together based on the Alberta Dementia Strategy and presented to AHS directors to consider introducing a community recreation therapist to develop community programs to support people living with dementia and their care partners. We also had an ongoing conversation with our community members, along with FCSS, what we could achieve right now. What could we do straight away? Over to you, Ellen.
Well, the outcome of the proposal to hire a community recreation therapist obviously was very positive. Hello, me. So to start to build that partnership and the trust within the community, we really looked for those quick win opportunities. The first one we created was the Innisfail Seniors Resource Guide. And the next was to kind of look at some of that existing and potential future programming. This kind of included that rebranding of our Art from the Heart program, also creating a falls prevention program for people living with dementia, which would give their care partners about 2 hours of respite a week. That natural step was to rebuild that drop-in care partner support group that really wasn't running in the community at that time as well. So it was kind of a really smooth transition to be able to run that support group once a month simultaneously with our falls group. And to start to make that change and have our partnership on an even playing field, the Community Partners in Action was created. We wanted the community to see us working together under one banner. The first of our successful submissions for grants was the Sparks grant from the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. And that for us was to create a dementia-friendly community. This grant enabled us to hire a temporary dementia-friendly coordinator. We also partnered with the Brenda Strafford Foundation as an early adopter for their Dementia-Friendly Communities Toolkit. This included our business education, public awareness events, and our launch events. The goal is to support people living with dementia to age within their community as active participants, safely, independently, with dignity, and to invest within the wellness of their care partners. The unfortunate thing was, as we were really starting to ramp up, we were forced to make a change because of the pandemic. So we really had to pivot to complete those grant requirements. So this kind of included moving things onto a virtual platform. The business education, our memory cafe, even the falls prevention program moved onto more of that virtual platform. And this also gave us an opportunity to really think outside the box. Let's Connect was born out of the need to engage people to decrease social isolation. And I'll talk a little bit later about what that's all about. We were able to continue with the education sessions that we were providing virtually. And with this, we also looked at other projects, such as creating the dementia-friendly resource kits, which we to date have donated 50 of those kits to first responders, medical clinics, our emergency room and acute care, as well as to our care partners. Since then, we continue to have success with our grant writing so that we can bring other opportunities to the community, such as the creation of our Innisfail men's shed. Also putting 10 65-inch smart TVs and iPads into seniors' apartments, community gathering places for people to connect online through Let's Connect, FaceTime with family, or other options that they can find online. And again, we appreciate the support provided by the FIGSI team during our grant writing through their letters of support and their overview of what we're writing. We've been really fortunate to have been acknowledged with a variety of awards, including the RPAP Rhapsody Healthcare Heroes Award. At that time, the CPIA celebrated Innisfail's achievement in becoming a dementia-friendly community. And we continue to promote and educate others as we move forward. These awards are not about, we also have been recognized by the Canadian Therapeutic Recreation Association with an Innovative Practice Award. So again, these awards are not about individuals, but the collaboration of the CPIA and the community at large. So when we look at our successes, the CPIA has really been engaged with our community to ensure that their voice is heard in the development of all of our programming and our education. This person-centered care is the backbone of what we do. And in order to have that balance between that health and social services, we seek out these groups and individuals to guide the work so that we don't have, we don't get too heavy-handed with that medical end of things. It is also about bringing different perspectives to the table. That's why our motto is, the weirder the mix, the better the fix comes in. When you bring this type of collaboration together, it really fills the community's needs quite quickly. And we are in a position where we can leverage each other to make those initiatives and those programs happen. It's really amazing how creative and innovative we can be when we share the load. And this also enables us to be very cost effective, as well as to build our programming to be sustainable within the community. With having a variety of partners, we're much more aware of the grants that we can apply for, especially when we see specific needs in the communities. With a variety of partners as well, we're able to utilize them to support that delivery of that grant funds, whether that's through advertising, also our participant recruitment. So since our journey has begun, we have been very, very fortunate through grants and donations to bring and sustain programming and products in the community. And you can see what we've been able to accomplish in that short period of time and the funds that we have been able to contribute into the community.
So challenges, which have been many, as you guys can appreciate, anybody that does this type of work. So not all community members wish to join or participate in the CPIA, that they may not have the capacity or content with the status quo. The CPIA is not our day jobs. The only one that's really positioned is Ellen's, but then she only actually works 2.5 days a week in Innisfail. The rest of us have, as I say, day jobs, and this is off the side of our desks. As previous community presenters mentions, challenging when key people leave or members bring their own unique skills and connections to the group. We are initially, we're trying to change a culture. We're introducing a new approach to care. We're blurring those lines, traditional lines, which which can be very difficult. In considering what assets do we currently have and what assets do we need, the Wellbeing Guide has assisted us to remain focused. The pandemic certainly was a challenge. We had just launched our DVFC initiative. It also provided us with the opportunity, just like Ellen mentioned, to think outside the box. Programs were developed because of the pandemic. We also have noticed as well, since the pandemic, people are slow to re-engage, or maybe just reluctant to re-engage because, people have been so disengaged for so long. There are always competing priorities in organization, whatever's the flavor of the month in that moment. The challenge of having to explain who, what, where, and why over and over. Again, thank you to the provincial team for the community reports and composing those local stories, which certainly helped us share what we've been doing here over the last 5 years. They really do articulate so well the work being done in this particular rural communities and other rural communities. Evaluation is a challenge for us due to the group's lack of capacity and skill. Certainly isn't my skill set. And also relying on grants makes the programs vulnerable and unsustainable. Once the grant ends, so it does the program. So that is a constant challenge and a concern when we develop these programs. Next slide. So timing is key. I very grateful so that when I started on this journey 5 years ago, that there was a lot of people in the right place at the right time. We had that Alberta dementia strategy. We had the 𝘮𝘮 working group to support to move this initiative forward. The town itself had put together a seniors assessment and were looking for ways to support the community through collaboration. Also one of the PCN objectives is to improve coordination and integration with other healthcare services. The CPA has learned with support from provincial team how important it is to action plan. When we first started, we had an idea and just ran with it. We were not very good at process and did very little evaluation, mainly because, as I mentioned, our capacity and limited skills. We certainly had a few squirrel moments. To reflect on sustainability of the programs when action planning is key, because that's something we certainly have learned. Also, when we lose a key player, this causes a dynamic change within a group and new members have to play catch up. The CPA is now developing a 3 to 5 year 3 to 5 year strategic plan around vision and goal setting. And we've based it on the Community for Living Well principle statements. Those principle statements certainly align with our own goals and values. Communication is fundamental so that the CPIA is embedded and recognized within the community. We certainly learned that, you have to put yourself out there. And again, those stories, the advertising has certainly helped that goal. So these are some of the material guides we have put together. I would like to highlight the Seniors Information Hub. We wanted it to be a one-stop shop for information and resources. If you click resources on the PCN website, then Dementia-Friendly Communities Innisfail, you will find the resources shown on the slide, which will include recordings of our education sessions.
So currently, these are the programs that we have running within the community. And our programs are designed through, again, conversation with people living with dementia and their care partners. We really want to ensure what we create is what our participants and the community feel they want, not so much what we sometimes in healthcare think they need. So our first program is Art from the Heart, and this program has been running the longest, and this is a volunteer-run art program. The Falls Prevention Program is specifically designed to have 30 minutes of consistent exercise and 30 minutes of cognitive activities, and let me tell you, lots of socializing, which is great. Along with this, we saw the opportunity to partner with the Alzheimer's Society to host their Care Partner Support Group. So this program runs once a month, and we've located a facilitator for this group, as well as a location near the Falls Prevention Program so that they can run simultaneously. We see this as a great advantage to having this partnership and this running at the same time, so that the care partners can feel that they are supported while the person living with dementia is also supported. The Memory Cafe is now run by a community volunteer, and it's held 2 times per month. And actually the attendance is, again, is definitely coming along, which is fantastic. And they seem to be really enjoying themselves. Our Bulbs in Bloom program, of course, is a seasonal program, and it's offered as an intergenerational program throughout the summer. Our Golf for All, we trialed this year as a pop-up program for 2 sessions. The advantage of doing these programs in a way that it's a pop-up is it really stays fresh and new, and the commitment for our participants, our partners, even our volunteers is really minimal, which is pretty enticing to people right now, because we are finding some of those long-term programs, people are struggling to make that commitment. So these short little programs actually work really well. And what we're looking at, the CPI is looking at for other pop-up opportunities in the future, will be like our Music for the Soul, which is an intergenerational choir, our Making Waves, it's a swimming program. We have improv we're looking at, also a date night, just to name a few that we're still seeking out. Our Men's Shed is a new program, and it has potential to address, of course, men's mental health, social isolation concerns, volunteerism, and it will also support youth within the community. So the final 2 programs that we are consistently running is our Generations program, and it was created as our initiative for the Canada Grant. So this is a program to connect volunteers and community participants in creating their life story, this including people living with dementia. Being able to really connect with those volunteers and share that life story with others is a really amazing legacy for those families. And our Generations project is getting close to coming to its finale for our sort of test run with it here in December, and then the town will take on keeping this program running in the future, which is fantastic. The last program is Let's Connect. And Let's Connect was created due to the pandemic to provide that online programs to keep people engaged, active, and to decrease that social isolation. This has grown to become a much larger online program service than we actually anticipated. We have participants throughout Alberta, other provinces, and other countries, including Brazil, the US, Mexico, and the Philippines. We actually have had a couple concerts hosted for us from Brazil, which is incredible to share someone else's culture and other people's experiences. The great thing about Let's Connect is it's actually volunteer run and open to all who want to participate in live programs. So we run different programs such as exercises, the brain gym, education sessions, social programs, just to name a few. We're always looking to expand our partnership to any community or individual who would like to share their education or their programs on Let's Connect. So anyone out there wanting to do that, we're happy to have you. All right, so when we look at our partnerships, and as you can see by the screen, we've been really fortunate to have a lot of partners who support the work that's happening in Innisfail and in Central Alberta. And when we look at the programming or our initiatives, we're really open to those community stakeholders that may be interested in partnering with the CPIA. This way, those organizations can contribute to their communities, but it's not meant to be a huge commitment. We all share that load, including financial and sweat equity, as well as sitting at the table that is not only inclusive, but open to all suggestions and ideas. We work together to find those solutions to meet the needs of the community versus working in silos. As a group, we are all aware of each other's agendas and commitments to our organizations, but we've been really successful in working within those parameters. And really being able to come together to support the community and the people living in the community has been very fulfilling. So we want to thank you for joining us for this presentation today. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks so much, Ellen and Wendy. What a great way to capture your journey over the last number of years. we'll just open up the floor to questions. You can either pop them in the chat box, or Sharon, I see your hand is up. Feel free to chime in. Go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah, way back when in 2007, when I was doing my public health degree, one of our instructors talked about the number of grants that small communities have to write in order to get various programs going. And while I can see that it's really interesting to have new things start, how onerous is that grant process? And what would you think is a better way? How do we need to support these small communities and these programs, this integration? Because it's the integration of health and social care is exactly what you're doing and needs to be done, but how do we do it better?
Well, that's the $1 million question, Sharon. Because we certainly would not be able to do any of this if we didn't do the grant application, and most of the grants are usually just for a period of a very short time, maybe a year, which, you know, you've got to cram an awful lot in a year. And that makes it challenging then as far as the evaluation and also as far as the sustainability of it. I think we've been very fortunate because of our community partners. A lot of our venues we get for free. A lot of the volunteering is free. Our organizations have, you know, allowed us some time to participate in these things. I think the answer is funding. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, when you saw that slide with all our collaborators, right? We're always looking for, because we're such a very small organization, we're very, very small, and we can't always apply for different grants because we're a non-for-profit as well. So we look for other partners who are, you know, can apply for grants on our behalf, like the McMahon, for instance, right? So that's the way we get around it. But I really would like to see government, you know, put some funding into this, to look at this model and actually say, you know, we need to support these programs to make them sustainable. Yes, we need to invest in acute care, we need to invest in home care, but you know, that should be that overlap, so that, you know, yeah, you know, you're investing in primary care, you have people in this medical home that are supporting individuals, but it's so based on that medical model, and we neglect the social model. And then, you know, it's just that revolving wheel, revolving door. So, you know, it has to be government investment.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that we have thought about also along that line is to, as funding opportunities come open, to also be asking those funders, government, how can they support the evaluation parts of things, like they have expertise in that, as well as from the start, what is their commitment to the sustainability of this. So starting to have a new relationship with funders in terms of that, because it's often been very one directional. And so how can we ask those questions and pull them into being one of the partners in sustaining and doing the evaluation for these teams. So I see we have a question in the chat box, Sharon.
Yeah, from Sherry. Do you want to speak to that, Sherry, or?
Yeah, sure, I can. I mean, it goes along with the conversation we're having is, you know, are there opportunities that you've already seen for partnering with community, with people or organizations, corporate or businesses in the community that could partner in as part of their give back programs, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're constantly doing that. I mean, just like I mentioned, McMahon, you know, is a huge organization. Then they can certainly support with staff and you know, different ways, but also businesses like the local golf course, right, for us to do our pop-up program there for people living with dementia. Right. The same with businesses, right? We do sometimes they will fundraise for us, you know, and give us a donation. The other thing is too, the town is very committed to support us, as is FCSS. They've FCSS has given us small grants. And when I think of the men's shed, they will say in the future that they, you know, we put a proposal together, put it in there, they will support that men's shed financially. Right now, we're supporting it through the Horizon grant. But of course, we know that's going to come to an end, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But the town is very committed on supporting the men's shed. So yes, for sure. You know, same with even printing, right? When we want to print Innisfail Connects, we're looking for a sponsor that will do some printing. You know, it can be as small as that.
Yeah, and I think what we try to do with regards to the sustainability of the programs, we try to set them up so that they can be successful really without that funding as well. So, you know, prime example is the falls prevention program. And we can share that with other rural communities as long as we are in a position where we can train and support someone doing that program. You know, we get those locations for free in the community, and other rural communities can have the same thing. So yes, it's nice to have the funds, but we also have to be really realistic that if we don't get those funds, we don't get those grants, because, you know, we apply for grants, that doesn't mean we're going to get them. Does the work can't stop, we still move forward. So how do you move forward? You really have to think outside the box and figure out a way to still make that happen for those individuals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we try not to rely on grants if we can help it.
Yeah, it just speaks to the sustainability, I think, and that's what I think Sharon was getting at. But I do have to run for another meeting, but I do want to say one thing as a fellow rec therapist. I am very happy to see that you got the recognition for doing such great work. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. Any other questions from the group?
I had a question for Ellen and Wendy, just around, you talked about getting that input from people living with dementia and carers, and just wondering, were there things that you learned there that you weren't expecting to find out from those folks that have influenced the type of programming or how you're moving forward with things?
Yeah, I'm always surprised when I have those conversations, because like I said, I kind of come sometimes from that healthcare lens, and I forget what sometimes those community needs are and their immediate needs. So it really grounds us, I think, in the decisions that we make in the directions that we go, because their lives are ever changing. And their needs are ever changing. So for us to be able to adapt and react to those type of things, I think is a positive. And again, they need to feel like they're heard, and this way they're part of this process. You know, they are part of the CPIA because they're guiding us and helping us make those decisions. We're working in the background to make that happen for them, but they're the ones that are telling us what their needs are now.
Nice. I like that reflection about that flexibility, right? That it's always, this isn't a one and done, right? It's always that change in there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the challenge is, I can't say that I was that surprised with some of those needs, right? Because when you're doing it day in, day out, but what sort of resonated with me was that just to have that, to know where to go, to call that person so that they can navigate them somewhere, right? So that they can go somewhere when they need it. Because they might, I see somebody that don't necessarily need the resources right now, but they know when the time comes where they are, and that they can just pick up the phone or connect and say, hey, you know, there's this group, right? And if they connect with one individual, say in FCSS, then they'll redirect them to the medical home or vice versa.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is an impact in the community because they know where to go.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Yeah,
so that
sure.
No door is the wrong door, right? That we
Yeah.
No, and we don't say, hey, this is not my department sort of thing. I can't help you right now, but I know somebody who can.
Mhm.
And that's also the advantage of having the seniors information hub, or all of our information on the website, is if you're new to the journey or new care partner, it's like that one-stop shopping where you can go and get some information and know who next to go to. Because we all know the journey can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Sharon, you have a question?
Yeah, this is my sister up in 𝘮𝘮𝘭𝘵, because we're rural kids. Our parents homesteaded in northern Alberta. But she says they're really, in 𝘮𝘮𝘭𝘵, they really lack those early programs for that, when people are just starting to experience memory problems, and they're not sure where they should connect. They may not have a diagnosis yet, but everybody's, starting to become aware of there's some issues. Is that have you been able to do that in Innisfail?
I think we've been at it since 2017, right, when we were part of that initiative with the provincial team here. And just to get that information out there, that in the medical home, we have a healthy aging program, right? On saying that, healthy aging means different things to different people. And, you also have that older adult that's a little suspicion, saying, I'm going to have an assessment, then now they're going to maybe suggest I go into a facility, or they take away my driver's license, right? Yeah. So we're trying to promote that actually, no, our goal is your goal, right? What is helpful for you? What is helpful? And that if it's helpful, and you want to stay at home, that's our goal as well. And we look at that, we start that conversation earlier when it comes to advanced care planning, right? To say to them, well, start thinking about this. So, you have that early intervention as far as, okay, you're getting some changes to your overall cognition or your function. It doesn't have to be just dementia, obviously. Start those conversations early, monitoring them, so that we try and nip things in the bud so that they're not crisis focused like we tend to be. So we are building gradually. Like I said before, we're trying to change our culture here, a different way of looking at things. Even the physicians themselves, they do get it, but when they're bogged down into their everyday work, they're thinking, oh my gosh, where do I go with this? And then they think, oh yeah, we've got a geriatric nurse here, right? So it's an ongoing thing, and it's the same with home care. We do presentations quite often on what our programs are. We do it in the community, so that we really want it to be embedded, right? There's resources here for you if you choose to engage and participate. It's their choice at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. One of the unique things I think too about your community, Wendy and Ellen, is the CPIA and the creation of that society. So just wondering if for others who might be thinking about that, how did that happen, and are there considerations people should make? How has it supported the work advancing locally?
Well, yes, part of why it came about, and Wendy, you can jump in whenever you like, is sometimes it's easier to work around our own organization's sometimes barriers. And we found that for us to be able to apply for some grants and to accept donations, we needed to be a little bit of a separate entity. Don't get me wrong, we all still work for our organizations. And I know for me, working with Alberta Health Services, I went through our ethics committee, I went through our legal department, and they felt that it was part of my job to be part of the society and doing those things. So it was not a conflict of interest, which is odd. But again, it was that this is a bit of a trial for Alberta Health Services, because I am the only community rec therapist in Central Zone. So I do appreciate the freedom to be able to try those things. And I think it has definitely worked for some of us and not for others. But one thing with the society is you have to have 5 board members. And the rest of the CPIA is what we would consider members at large. So really, we still conduct business with all of us making those decisions. If it's something very specific, and and we only need those voting for the board members, then that's fine, but it's still communicated to the members at large. Anything else you want to add there, Wendy?
Yeah, I think it just gives us the opportunity to apply for grants that we wouldn't be able to through our own organizations, right? HS isn't able to apply for grants, and neither is certain grants with the PCN. And with all those restrictions that go with that, with organizations, this helps us to be creative and innovative. So, you know, and not so much of that oversight. You know, we are our own entity within the community.
Yeah, beautiful.
And again, we really want the community to see us working together. Honestly, they have no concept of who's Alberta Health Services, who's from the town, who's from the PCN, but they are starting to recognize our logo. And, you know, that's, I think for us, that brand recognition is really important. They don't see the behind the scenes work, which is okay. They really don't need to. But it's nice that they are recognizing that as a place where they can go and make those connections and know that someone's going to support them and guide them if they want that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm just looking at the chat box here. Ellen, you're just saying you're happy to share resources, I guess. Is that right? Listed on the PCN website?
Yeah, for sure. You know, whatever we've done and created, we're happy to share with whoever's interested, right? Nobody needs to reinvent the wheel, and we certainly haven't either. A lot of the things we've done, you know, has been done in other places. You know, when you think of our dementia-friendly initiative, we use the Brenda Stratford toolkit, and you know, we adopted it to our needs this community. I mean, there's lots of resources out there that we can tap into. We've just adjusted it and adapted it to our community, and we look to our community partners, right, and including yourself, Sharon and Helen, and other people on this here today, you know, to ask them, hey, would you support us in doing this? We're going to be doing this. When you think of, you know, we had that care partner pair, and we had, you know, different vendors come, and you know, so, you know, we've been very fortunate that most of the time when we ask people, do you think you could help support us with this? It's not very often that people say no.
And keeping in mind, keeping in mind with all of the resources that we have, every community is so unique and so different. That's where it's great. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you make it work for what your community needs, not what Innisfail needs. We did what we needed, and then, you know, we open that door up to make it unique for what your needs are.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, because often we look for that silver bullet, right? And I say that as the collective we, as a system, as a, you know, how do we create this one thing and make it work everywhere, rural, urban, for whatever. So I think what you've shared and how your team has gone about learning that unique context in Innisfail and hearing the needs of the people who you're trying to support and going with what they're telling you is it takes time and effort, but I think what you have shared today shows the success that can happen when you persist at that kind of approach.
It's having the right people at the table, right? Yes, you know, you can, you know, I'm the nurse at in the medical clinic, but you know, I need the rec therapist, I need the social worker, right? I need FCSS, I need these other organizations, so that, you know, when I see those individuals that I assess, that I can provide them with alternatives. I'm not just managing their diagnosis and their disease, but also to say, hey, you know, you live in this community. This is what you want to, you know, it's about quality of life. This is how you know, want to live your life. Yes, I'm going to follow you, but go out and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
You live in this community.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. And I think, you know, your team has shared before too, no person is an island, no organization can address these challenges that are alone, right? So this is a great example of that. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we're at 10:18. Ellen and Wendy, thank you so much for this and sharing your journey. It's just been so informative. And I think for anyone who is wanting to reach out to Ellen and Wendy and aren't sure how to get a hold of them, certainly reach out to our team and we can connect you with them. But thank you both for sharing your information and your experience this morning. Shauna, if I could get you to bring up the slide deck. I think just in the time that we have left, we will set aside the well-being guide discussion for a future meeting, and perhaps then have an opportunity to share a bit more of a comprehensive update on the existing grant that these teams are involved in. So what we'll do is, if you can just go to the next slide, we want to share with you, our grant is coming to an end in the end of March of 2023. We are going to be having a wrap-up celebration event to share what the teams have achieved during the course of the grant, as well as some of those deliverables. We have Cormac Russell as our keynote speaker, and we're pretty pumped. For anyone who isn't familiar with Cormac's work, he is from Ireland. He is involved in an organization called Nurture Development. He has been doing community development work for years. And he just really, I think Helen and I had the chance to first see him present at the asset-based community development presentation put on by Tamarack in Edmonton a few years ago. And we became instant fangirls, I would say, of his work. It just seemed to really resonate with what this work is trying to achieve and what we hear from community teams. So we're super excited about that. It will be held on Tuesday, March the 28th. It'll be 90-minute session, 10:30 to 12 o'clock. We're just waiting for a bit more bio information from Cormac, and then Kate will distribute the save the date. We encourage you to share that save the date far and wide for those who you feel might be interested in, but please mark that in your calendars, and that will replace the partners meeting that month. So Tuesday, March the 28th. And then maybe we'll just flip down to the resources and opportunities. Great, thanks, Shauna. So wanting to share the link to a kind of hot off the press, really, report from the National Institute on Aging, Aging in the Right Place, Supporting Older Canadians to Live Where They Want. This is one of a multitude of reports that the National Institute on Aging puts out, but sharing this as we read through it, we felt that a lot of the information in it would be of interest to those on the line as well, and those participating in this kind of work. So the hyperlink is here. When Kate sends out the recording, she will, yes, sure, we can do that too, Sharon. When Kate sends out the recording, the hyperlink will be available there. And then the next slide is around an opportunity. And Karen Chan, I see you on the line. I'm wondering if you are in a space where you might be able to come off mute and share with us a little bit about this opportunity coming up in December.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
We can, yep.
Awesome. Okay, no, I just wanted to share, like, if people are invited, it's more, we're unveiling our network declaration for community-based senior serving organizations. We're creating a network here in Edmonton, and this is our summit, basically, to unveil the declaration. It is open to attendance in person and virtual, and I think we're trying to kind of advertise it a little bit more widely, as we're also, of course, working to linking with the provincial initiatives, and really really just trying to bring voices together and create a platform, I think, for advocacy and moving things forward within the Edmonton area, and that includes surrounding areas as well.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Karen. And so again, when we send out the slide deck and the recording, we'll put the register information into that as well. Can be attended in person or virtual. Anything else? And I'm just putting in the information on there, the Aging in Place report. Helen or Shauna, anything else that we wanted to bring up?
No, I think that's
No, not for me.
what we had. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's everything, I think, yeah, we'll our slide here around the join us. If you haven't already become part of our open group on the Core Alberta platform, please sign up for that. The Core Alberta platform, you know, I think Wendy and Ellen, you talked about not recreating the wheel and sharing resources, and this is a great platform for that as well, in terms of I see your hand waving there, Helen. You know, not being able to network and connect with other people who are doing community-based senior serving work. So go ahead, Helen.
You bet. I just wanted to give the heads up about next month's meeting. We've moved the meeting to December 13th. So just that it's a few weeks earlier. We figure people are often heading away on vacation in those last 2 weeks. So just so that people know, I think you've got the invitation in your calendars, but it is December 13th from 10:30 to 11:30. And we're hoping to hear from the Westlock team about the work that they've been doing at that one.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And again, Wendy and Ellen, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
And we'll give you a few minutes back in your day before you have to run off to your next thing. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.